Good morning, my Lord.
Good morning, Father.
Could you please present yourself?
Yes, I am Bishop Emmanuel Badejo from the Catholic Diocese of Oyo in Nigeria.
You are welcome.
Thank you.
We are aware that you were in Rome, or you are in Rome, for the just concluded Synod of Bishops. Could you please explain to us what Synod of Bishops mean?
Well, yes, after the Second Vatican Council, which assembled close to 2,800, maybe more, bishops from all the whole world, the idea came that from time to time the Pope needed to have ideas from bishops working all over the world in his own work as the pastor of the whole church, in his own way of teaching the whole church, and his way of shepherding the whole flock, that is the Catholic world. Therefore, the Synod of Bishops was established as an organ that will meet from time to time to discuss issues that relate to the life of the church and advise the Pope, the Holy Father, on what needs to be taught, how it needs to be taught, and how the work of the representative of Jesus on earth will be done. And so this synod is part of that structure. And this synod was meant to address a new evangelization for the transmission of the faith, of the good news. That's why I'm here in Rome.
Okay. The synod is on the new evangelization for the transmission of the faith. What does new evangelization mean for the Christian of today?
Well, new evangelization certainly does not mean that God has changed. It simply means that the same God of Abraham, the same God who has been good to human beings all over the ages, is still the same. That the same God who was the center of the life of human beings in the time of Abraham, of Moses, of David, of the apostles, is still the center of creation today. And that the man of today must find God at the center of all he does, of his existence. Otherwise, there is always an emptiness inside of man that is never filled. Because new evangelization needs to reassure man of the love of God and of the care that God has for his creation. And to reassure man that that thing that man is always running after, that he doesn't ever seem to attain, can be found in Jesus Christ, who came into the world to teach people how to love one another and indeed to give his life so that others may be saved. That is the whole idea of new evangelization. And through that, to make human beings to be more comfortable, to be in love with one another and live for a better world.
Coming from Africa, as a representative of one of the bishops in Nigeria, we can see that the church in Nigeria and the church in Africa, and even also in Asia, and also in South America, is still a very vibrant church. It's still a young church, and it's growing. Do you think that these continents or these areas I've mentioned also need our direct concern with the concept of new evangelization?
Yes, maybe not in the same way that Europe needs a new evangelization. The reality in Europe is that probably less people are going to church. There's a lot of secularism, there's a lot of indifference to the whole concept of God. As a local church, the Church of Europe must find a new language, new methods for reaching the man of today where he's found. However, in Africa, especially if you take Nigeria for example, at this moment the church in Nigeria, and probably generally in Africa, is suffering a lot. Suffering a lot from the effects of war, of fanaticism, of poverty, the effects of lack of development, of bad governance. Why does the church suffer? The church suffers because anywhere that truth, good governance, honesty, the common good, the rights of human beings are diminished, the church suffers, because it is the work of the church to ensure that these things become part of every society so that human beings can live to the fullest of their ability which God himself intended. And therefore, in Africa, we need a new evangelization to give us the adequate preparation, adequate tools, the adequate language to address the problems of today. When the missionaries came to Nigeria, for example, the situation was not like this. They didn't have millions of Catholics, but there were no bombs, and there was no destruction of property and human lives in such a way as we have today. There were no governments that tried to limit the rights of human beings, or sometimes the rights of Christians. I must say that in Nigeria there is no organized persecution, but we see that the church suffers a lot. from extremists and fundamentalists who try to impose a certain idea over others. And in these circumstances, the church has to be the leader in the society to restore peace, to restore harmony, and to restore peaceful coexistence of people. And therefore, the local church in Africa, in Nigeria, needs to find new methods of transforming the faith, of transmitting the faith, so that those people who are Catholics will be encouraged, will be sustained in their faith, will have the capacity to go on as children of God, even in the midst of persecution. So we all need methods of new evangelization for the transmission of the faith, whether we're in Europe or in Africa or in the United States or wherever in the world, because human beings are always changing. Our world is changing very fast, but God is always at the center, because God does not change, but He's the one who holds everything together.
From your personal experience at the synod, what are the positive results you expect from this synod?
Well, first of all, I saw a lot of listening in the synod. I see a church that is trying hard to be democratic. The church is often criticized out there for being hierarchical and not so democratic, but generally people who say that don't know how the church works, because for the last 3 weeks, the church, including the Pope sitting there, were discussing the situation from every corner of the earth. I saw quite a number of positive things. The insistence on the importance of the Bible, of the catechism of the Catholic Church, so that people really know their identity. The insistence on interreligious dialogue, being open to other people, the insistence on taking ecumenism seriously, because our division takes away from the effectiveness of our mission, of our evangelization. That Jesus did pray for one church. We ought to be working for one church, not dividing the church in pieces and making the work of Jesus and the work of the Holy Spirit more difficult. I think ecumenism and interreligious dialogue will be taken a lot more seriously in the church from now on. I also think that the youth are going to have a completely different role in the church. The church will actually, so to say, appeal to the youth, not only just to be subjects of the teaching of the church or the Pope, but to be participants in the work of evangelization. They are not human beings or individuals or groups for the future. They are for the present. They are the present of the church. They are the ones who are changing the world. They are the ones who do the music that change the world. They are the ones who get involved in the films that make the world. They are the ones who originated the Facebook that we're all using, and so on and so forth. The church needs them to build a better society, a society of values. But it's important also that in the church of the future, human beings realize that God, who is greater than everybody, is the one who can provide a solution for the emptiness that is inside of man. That's why Jesus Christ came, to teach us that of all the bad things we see in the world, of all the crime, the materialism, the individualism, love is the thing that can save the world. The love of the neighbor, the love of God, who made all these things to come about. So the role of the young people is going to be very important. They know the new language, they know the new means, they are competent with it, they can create a better world with it. And the church will be with them, as they try to do that. Also, the role of women in transmitting the faith was highly emphasized. Women have always played a great role in the church, but now the church is calling them to do even more. Because in the scriptures, after all, Jesus himself, he entrusted himself to women at the incarnation, even at the resurrection, the women were present. After he resurrected, he entrusted the message to women. So the church is highlighting that importance of their role as transmitters of the faith in order to bring the light of the gospel more and more to the world. And then I think that finally we have to create a church that is more communion than hierarchical, so that priests and bishops and ministers can go and meet people where they really are, to help them to face the difficult situations of daily life, because that's what church is supposed to be.
Thank you very much, my Lord, for this interview.